Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be introducing Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. So for the last 18 months or so, I have been hosting a long-term read-along on this channel called the Mega Dickens Readalong. And our 11th book for the Mega Dickens Readalong, because we really are getting towards the end now, is going to be Little Dorrit, which we're going to be reading in March and April 2024. I'll leave some more information down below about the Mega Dickens Readalong, including the schedule, the initial announcement video, and also the Discord server where we've been having lots of chats about Dickens. Obviously, we are quite far through now, but you are still welcome to join and catch up or just read the last few with us, or you could always just join in for Little Dorrit if you like. We're going to be reading this one in March and April. Start when you like, finish when you like. It's entirely up to you. I think I will probably be reading this in March rather than April, and I'm going to listen to an audiobook, which will be really fun. So first off, let me tell you what Little Dorrit is about, and then I have 10 reasons why you should read it. So Little Dorrit was first published serially between 1855 and 1858, and it is the story of a young woman called Amy Dorrit, who is 22 years old, and she lives mostly with her father in the Marshalsea prison for debt. Her father has been in the Marshalsea debtors prison for a long time. He has not been out of the walls in 22 years. Amy was born in the Marshalsea prison. She's not imprisoned herself, she can leave, so she lives there at night, but during the day she goes out to work, and she works often as a seamstress, and she has recently been working for an older woman called Mrs. Clenham. And one of the other main characters in Little Dorrit is a man called Arthur Clenham, who is Mrs. Clenham's son, and he has recently come back from a long time abroad, and he meets Amy Dorrit. They kind of become friends and everything goes on from there. I am very, very excited to reread Little Dorrit because it is one of my absolute favourite books ever. I usually say this is my third favourite Dickens book, with Aren't Meet Your Friend being number 1, Dombey and Son being number 2, and Little Dorrit being number 3, but I just think it's truly incredible and I absolutely love it. This will be, I think, my 5th or 6th read of Little Dorrit. I'm not completely certain about that, but it's also one that I reread relatively recently. Not that recently, but I last reread Little Dorrit in October 2020, so it's only been 3.5 years since my last reading. In my head, 2020 was quite recently, but actually it wasn't that recently. For my last reread of Little Dorrit, I listened to the audiobook, and I'm going to be listening to the audiobook again this time. I'm going to be listening to the audiobook narrated by Juliet Stevenson, which is really great, and I definitely recommend it. Let me move on to my 10 reasons why you should read Little Dorrit. And my reason number 1 is just that it's really, really, really good. Like, it's just one of Dickens's best. It's absolutely fantastic, and you should just all read it because it's wonderful. I know that isn't like a very fully explained reason, but genuinely it's just fantastic and it's just wonderful, and you should all read it because it's the best. I mean, it's not the best, it's the third best, but like, it's also the best. It's fantastic. My second reason why you should read Little Dorrit is that it has a really, really wonderful plot. Like, really great twists and turns, with a lot of different plot threads that are like weaved together wonderfully, pulling together a lot of different characters. I really, really love that about Little Dorrit. I think the plotting is so good. My third reason why you should read Little Dorrit, kind of related to that, is that it has a really good structure. It's really hard for me to say more without spoilers, but the way the structure of the book works and the placing of certain big surprises in the plot are just fantastic. Like, this book doesn't really go the way you expect it to go, and I love that about it, and the structure of it in relation to that is really, really fantastic. My fourth reason why you should read Little Dorrit is for the setting, and there are kind of 2 elements to this. One is that we have the Marshalsea prison for debt and 19th century London kind of surrounding that, which Dickens explores so well in Little Dorrit. The Marshalsea prison is such an interesting place, and the way it works and the lives of the people who are confined in there is really, really interesting to look at. But also Little Dorrit is a little bit more international than some Dickens books, so we also go to France, to Italy, and there's quite a bit of travelling around in Little Dorrit in a way that I really, really enjoy. That's kind of a fun added element to Little Dorrit that I think is worth reading it for. The 5th reason why you should read Little Dorrit is that it has, in my opinion, the best central love story in a Dickens book. Like, it is Dickens's best love story and the book of his that is the most a love story I would say, in my opinion. It also is a book that deals really, really well and really powerfully with unrequited love in a really fantastic way. The sixth reason why I think you should read Little Dorrit is for the character of Amy Dorrit. I love Amy so much. I think she's a wonderful character. She is possibly my favourite Dickensian heroine, although Lizzie Hexam from Our Mutual Friend would probably give her a run for her money, but like Amy Dorrit I absolutely love. I think she's a fantastic character. She is very, very physically small, so she's 22 years old, but she's often described as looking physically like a child. Until people see her face, they often mistake her for a child because she's very short. But although she's very physically small, she's very emotionally tough and she's very intelligent. She is the youngest of 3 siblings, but she is the one who looks after her whole family. She looks after her 2 older siblings, her father, her uncle. She takes care of them all. She does all the accounting. She goes out to work. She earns the most money. Like, she is not the head of the family in some ways, but in other ways she is definitely like carrying all the rest of them. And I feel like the way that's explored, her sense of independence, like I just love all of that stuff about her, and I think she's a really interesting character with a really great arc. And actually throughout Dickens's novels, I feel like often my favourite characters are the minor characters, the side characters, the eccentrics. It's quite rare that one of Dickens's like main characters, the central character of the book, is my favourite, and I feel like Little Dorrit is the real exception there, where Amy Dorrit is my favourite and I love her. She's one of my favourite characters. She's probably my favourite protagonist in all of Dickens, I would say. The seventh reason why you should read Little Dorrit is for all the other wonderful, glorious characters that you have within Little Dorrit, because there are a lot of fantastic characters. There's Frederick Dorrit, Amy's uncle, who I just absolutely adore. There's Arthur Clennam, who is a really, really interesting kind of hero for Little Dorrit, because he is 40 years old and a bit gloomy and quite emotional. Not the usual like mid-20s handsome chivalrous person that you get in a lot of other Dickens books. I think he's really well done. We also have the whole Dorrit family, who are fascinating. Amy's father is quite a dislikable character in some ways, but you do understand him and he's really well explored. We also have Mr. Merdle, who I think is fantastic. We have Mrs. Clennam, John Chivery. I love John Chivery, who is a turnkey at the Marshalsea Prison for Debt, who is deeply in love with Amy and just can't get her to notice him. There's Mr. Panks as well, who I love. Like, there's so many wonderful characters in Little Dorrit from all different walks of life, and I feel like it's done so well. The eighth reason why you should read Little Dorrit is for the way this book looks at money and capitalism in a really, really interesting way. There are quite a few different ways that this book looks at money and capitalism. One is kind of through the debtor's prison, where Amy's father is kept. You know, the financial ruin of the Dorrit family and the social stigma that comes from that financial ruin is really, really interestingly explored in Little Dorrit. But then we also have the character of Mr. Merdle, who has this big business empire, and the way capitalism is looked at through him is really, really interesting. I think if anyone's read The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope, comparing The Way We Live Now with Little Dorrit is really, really interesting to look at how they both look at kind of capitalism and business and the city. Reason number 9 why I think you should read Little Dorrit is because of the theme of family. There's a lot of really interesting exploration of family in lots of different ways. You know, there's a lot of sibling relationships, there's a lot of parent and child relationships, there's a lot of surrogate family relationships, and we have the Dorrit family and the Clennam family and the Meagles family, all of which have their kind of like problems in different ways, and they're all explored really, really well. I love the way this book looks at family. It's so interesting. And then finally, the 10th reason why I think you should read Little Dorrit is because it has a really interesting look at gender and especially kind of power dynamics between men and women. And Amy Dorrit and Arthur Clennam as the two kind of central characters of Little Dorrit are really, really interesting to look at in terms of gender, because both of them defy gender expectations to a certain degree. We have Amy, who is the breadwinner for her family, and kind of much more competent than everyone else in her family, despite her being the youngest child and a girl. She's taken on a role in her family that would traditionally be taken by a man. And then we have Arthur, who is much more emotional than his very unemotional, cold mother. And that kind of turns on its head a lot of ideas about gender within the Victorian period in a really interesting way. And I just think Little Dorrit is a book that does lots of interesting things with gender. So there we go. Those are 10 reasons why you should read Little Dorrit. I hope I have persuaded you by my general enthusiasm throughout this video that this is really worth your time. It is one of Dickens's best. I love it so much. I think it's fantastic. I'm really, really, really excited to reread it. I think that's all I wanted to say for today. Do let me know down in the comments, are you going to be joining in with a Mega Dickens read-along for Little Dorrit in March and April? That's all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.